Hi everybody, welcome all to this Capture One presentation today hosted by CyberPhoto. My name is Maria, I'm a trainer at Capture One and I'm super excited to be presenting to all of you today our new features in Capture One 23. So it's been a long wait, we've been working on this for a very long time, we've been working very hard, so we all hope that you are going to enjoy the new features in the software. So without further ado, let's see what are those, let's see what's new. So, first of all, let's start with a general overview of the new features in the order that I will be bringing them up into the presentation. We'll start with the new tool Faster Culling, then we'll move on to smart adjustments and smart styles, then we'll be talking about how to include layers in styles, and finally I will be mentioning some minor user experience improvements. Because this presentation is meant for those of you who have been using Capture One for a while, but also for some other people who are still not using Capture One but still are curious to see what's new, I try to organize this presentation in a workflow way that makes sense. So I will start by importing images, then I will do some more refined culling, and then we'll be doing the batch editing with the smart adjustments and the layers. Let's go. So as promised, let's start at the beginning. I'm going to start by bringing in some files into this new blank session I created, of course using the importer top left button. As you can see right now at the importer view, we already see some new stuff. Well, I select the folder that I want to import my files from. It could also be an SD card. The first thing I wanted to show you is the group overview. I'm going to choose this option, Enable Groups. And right now, as you can see, Capture One is calculating and grouping pictures according to their similarity. This is a new feature powered by an AI that will just basically create groups according to how their photos look like and what is in them. As you can see, there is a similarity slider, so if we increase the similarity, it will group photos in smaller groups. And if we lower the threshold of similarity, the groups will be larger because the tolerance will be lower. So in my experience, it works perfectly around a 50%, from 40 to 60% according to how accurate you want the groups to be. I'm going to leave it at 50% for now. And the next thing we want to do is move on to the viewer view right here. And now I'm going to hide my camera so you can see the interface perfectly. Okay, now here we are. So we have 45 images in this folder. They are groups, well, in different groups. You can see all the groups here. And to move around the groups, we can do it with the left and arrow keys. So this is the first group with 9 pictures in them. This is the pictures that it grouped. So I can see now that these are not quite the same, so I'm actually going to increase a little bit the similarity threshold for it to be a little bit more. Okay, there you go. I think that's perfect. So around 60%. So right now I have this group of 6 images. I can move around the images using the top and down arrows in my keyboard. And I think this group works just fine. And this is the image I want to select, so I'm going to use the spacebar for that, or we can also just simply click or unclick here. But I think that using the keyboard shortcuts is super convenient in this view. So if I want to move on to the next group, I'm going to use the right and left keys. So for example, here I have another group. This is the photo I want to bring in. And note that there is also already some color tags. So this is another one of the new functionalities in this importer/culling view. The thing is that right now we can color tag our images and also rate them. So for example, if I want to give this image 5 stars, I can do it just by clicking on this point here underneath the image, or also the same shortcuts work as they do in the interface. So by using the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and note how it's being reflected in the importing interface immediately. Also, I could change the color tag if I wanted to, and also the same keyboard shortcuts work for the color tag. So for example, plus is green, I can just turn it back to green. Note also that now we have the filters tool right in the importer. So if I wanted to filter by the green tags that I selected previously, I could just do it right away. Let's go back to the grid view for a second. So this is all my green tags, and if I wanted to just select them all, I could just do it simply with my keyboard shortcuts. In this case, let's just go back to these ones that I already selected, and let's review all the rest of them together. You can filter by rates, color tags, dates, formats, or any other filters that are available from within the same interface. Another thing to note before we continue selecting the images to import is that right now we have the file information also at the importer with the name, date, camera settings, and so on. And also note that at the date, we have now a 3 dots button. So if we click on this one, we're going to have additional options. This is also one of the new things in Capture 123. Here you go. This is also one of the new things. It's the option to change the capture time. Why would this be relevant? This would be relevant if, for example, we would be using 2 different camera bodies for the same session and they are not synchronized. It would be always useful to have both cameras synchronized, but it's not always so. So we can make sure to change that right after we import into Capture One. So that's one thing it could be useful for. Another thing, another use case would be if we are traveling and we are switching time zones. It could be that we want to synchronize the pictures with the right time zone, for example. So this would be the use cases for this new feature. It's a minor user experience tweak, but nevertheless, I think it's worth mentioning. Okay, let's go back to the Culling interface. I'm going to leave it as it is right now. And I'm just going to go back to the viewer and let's go back to our groups. So let's start at the beginning. This is just one photo. Oh, I have a filter selected, that's why. Let's unselect this filter, and this is the first group that we already selected the last photo from. So moving on to the next group, this is the 3 images. I already selected this one too. This is also 3 images. I think this one is fun, so I'm going to be selecting that to import. Remember, with the spacebar, right and left keys, and up and down to move along the groups. So moving on to the next group, I think we can pass from this one. I think this is nice. And just move on, selecting your photos. I think this one is nice, so I'm going to bring this one in too. This one is nice, and so on. Okay, I think that we would be almost done. Oops, see this one, I already made some color tags to make sure I'm not leaving out any of the nice examples that I wanted to show you, because we will be using the same pictures for the editing features. Okay, so right now I selected 12 images and I'm going to be importing those. So while it imports, I wanted to let you know that this is available at the importer, but there is also a new interface for the culling feature that I will be showing you just in a moment. So what would be the use case for this, or how would I actually use this? So I would use this to make a pre-selection of images. Of course, if you can cull as much as possible from the importer, that will drastically reduce your waiting time for importing photos. So that's a good thing that you want to do. So for example, in here, I reduced from about 40-50 images to 12, which is very nice because it's going to cut down importing time. As you can see, it's already done. So you can see that right now, next to the importer and the exporter, there is the cull feature. So let's just click in here. So let's go back to the grid view for a moment and let's see what we have here. So we have some green tags, that will be the hero shots. Could be the case that I want to use a different color tag, for example, for the hero shots that are for the couples, and then I want to use maybe a red tag for the individual shots, so I can do different edits or I can do different things. Could be the case that I want to recall and say I don't want these to be part of the hero shots, for example, so I'm going to delete this tag. Then I can use the filters to say, okay, this is what I want to be the couple shots, and this is what I want to be the individual shots. Of course, if we want to check things like focus, we can do that as well, just by double-clicking on the image. We can check focus. Also, this is available at the importer, so in both sides. And let's also check just quickly the focus on these photos here. Okay, that looks nice, and that looks nice. So that would be it. And also note how fast it is. It's a very fast selection process because it doesn't involve creating actual previews. So it's very fast to do it. It doesn't need to generate previews. It's just instant. There is no delay. And it's also good to do it like so from either the importer or the culler. So now we already selected all the photos that we want to work with. Let's click on done. And let's go back to the main interface. We can see that we have 5 stars on everything that we want to be focusing on. And then the green tags on the hero shots and the red tags on the individual couple shots. For now, I'm going to be saying though on everything because I'm going to be showing you now the smart adjustments, which is another very new and interesting, exciting feature that we are presenting today. Going to hide myself again. And let's, choose one of these. For example, let's just choose this one. Let's go back to the normal viewing mode out of the grid zone. And let's go on the adjustments tab. Note that we have now a new tool in the Adjustments tab that is called Smart Adjustments. And this is a feature that is AI based. So basically you can just edit the exposure and the white balance in one of the photos from the batch and apply the same adjustments to the whole batch. And it's very different than just copying and applying adjustments. So let's say, for example, I'm going to adjust this photo to how I like it. I'm going to make it a little bit warmer. So just like so, for example, let's copy these adjustments and let's apply to the whole batch. This is just like the regular old copy apply adjustments. So adjustments are being applied and you see that it's better, but it's not looking great because some of the shots, they were shot under different circumstances. So for example, this shot is still underexposed and this shot is still underexposed and the white balance is way off. So let's go back to this one. Well, let's actually reset the whole batch and let's do it now with the Smart Adjustments tool. So we're going to select this one as a reference. Let's just readjust again the exposure and the white balance as we want to do it. Just like this is a little bit too much. Let's get it just right. Okay, I think that's a good balance. So we're going to set this one as a reference. And now we're going to again select the whole batch and instead of just copying and applying adjustments, we're going to be applying from the Smart Adjustments tool. So what this is going to do, it's doing it right now. So this is going to edit all the images in the batch according to the reference we set. So that's going to apply adjustments in a relative way, just not applying regular values, just doing it according to the conditions under which image was shot. So for example, going back to this one that was underexposed and the white balance was way off, and another one that was the case, this one, now they all look so much better. Let's just see quickly the before and after. This is the before, and this is the after. This is just the Smart Adjustments. No other adjustment had been done in this photo. I really am in love with this tool because it's just so easy to edit the whole batch in the same time. And you see, if we quickly go through all of them, we see that they are looking, well, very equal. They are looking really nice and just ready for further adjustments. Okay, so how could we actually take this up a notch so it gets even better if we combine them as styles? So let's do something. I'm going to hide myself again. Okay, let's just go back to the whole batch and I'm going to reset the adjustments. And let's just go to the styles. And there is a style I wanted to apply here. Styles are very useful, of course, for doing batch editing. This is the standard styles, the dumb styles, if you want to call them like that. By the way, all of these styles have been readjusted for Capture One 23 to include layers, which is something that we'll be talking about just in a minute. So for this batch of photos, I actually like this style, f275%. Let's just use the same hero shot as I was showing before. I like to do it this way. I just like to choose one photo and see what works better. So I already made up my mind. This is the style that I wanted to apply for this photo, and it looks great here. So let's see what happens if we apply to the whole batch, just like that. This is not a smart style, this is just a regular style. So let's apply this style, and it's applying, and it has some similarities, but we can also see that, the photos that were off, they are still off, and it's a good starting point, but it would require us to do some manual work. Instead of doing that, if we just save Smart Adjustments inside a style, which I already did, so I created a new version of the style, but just in a smart way, let's apply those instead. It's now looking great. Let's take a look again at the before and after. So this is where it came from, and this is where it went, just with the smart style on top. So let's talk about for a second how to save the Smart Adjustments in styles. So for example here, if I wanted to just resave this style with another minor tweak, for example, we could just do it straight from the Smart Adjustments feature, just save style. And here comes also the other new thing, which is that now layers work in styles. And you can now save as a part of your style, your conjunction of layers. So for example, this style has now been split in two, so one for color and one for contrast, so you can tweak these two things separately. So for example, color works nice, and if we want slightly more contrast or less contrast, we can also tweak that separately. So for example, here this one is a little bit too contrasted, so let's just dial it down a little bit, and that will be looking great. And this would be all of your pictures edited just in clicks away. So we're really happy about these adjustments. I actually wanted to bring up a quote from our product manager, Alexander Fleming. This has been according to a beta testing research. So it says here, on average, Capture One 23 users reported smart adjustments would save 1/3 of their editing time. So that's a lot of editing time, especially if you are one of these people that need to edit lots of files again. It's going to considerably improve your life, probably. Okay, so let's go down to our latest new feature today, the layers in styles. I'm going to be showing my screen again now. Let's hide myself. Okay, so now maybe you're thinking, okay, this is great, this style looks good, but I don't have this style, and I just can't buy this style right now. But that's okay, because you can also take advantage of these to create your own styles with your own adjustments and your own color vibes that you like. So again, let's reset everything, and let's take a different approach. So for example here, I'm going to use this one again as the basis of the adjustments that I'm going to do. And instead of just applying, the styles to the background, I'm just going to be doing the exposure and the white balance adjustment, just like we did before. Just so that I can save the smart style. So just that I can save the reference right now for the smart adjustments. And then instead of just applying the rest of the adjustments in the background, I'm going to create a new layer, a new fill adjustment layer, and I'm going to be calling it background or basic, or maybe, okay, let's do contrast, maybe it's fine. So what I'm going to do here is some of my usual adjustments. So I'm going to draw a little luma curve to improve contrast. I'm going to bring the saturation a bit up. I'm going to recover these highlights so we can have all the nice detail in the wedding dress, maybe a little bit up on the shadows, and maybe just a little bit of clarity. Okay, this would be my basic background adjustments, and then I would be moving on to color adjustments. Instead of doing that on the same layer, I'm going to be creating a new filled adjustment layer. So if we see M, there is a mask covering everything. Here I'm going to be doing my color adjustments. And I'm just going to be doing some very simple tweaks, so saturating a little bit of the greens and just some color balance, where I'm going to be tinting the shadows a little bit cooler and the highlights a little bit warmer. Nothing too crazy, just something that we can reuse and that we can apply to the whole batch. So right now, I did my smart adjustment saving, I did my color and my contrast layer, and I'm going to save this style. And it's going to be my own style. And you can see here now that I'm going to be including the smart adjustments and both of the layers, color and contrast. Let's save it. Let's call it, for example, wedding style. Just give it a name that you're going to be remembering. And then let's move on to the styles panel. I'm going to select everything but the photo that we took as a reference because the adjustments are already applied there. And here is our wedding style. So I'm going to be applying this wedding style. And there you go. Everything again is adjusted accordingly. Let's just take a final look at this. And of course, you can also save your previous style. Just resave them with the smart adjustments using a reference that you like. Maybe this one is a little bit off. So I can maybe use the speed edit shortcuts, which is another tool that I really like. And that will be similar. The rest is, I think that's brilliant, honestly. I think it's pretty okay. It did a great job. We have contrast, we have detail in both shadows and highlights. We have color consistency. Maybe this just needs some rotation and flip magic, something like that. And everything's consistent. The skin tones look good in all the photos. So it would be pretty much done. Another option, if you want extra flexibility, remember, because each layer has an independent opacity control, you can maybe even save your own styles instead of at 100% opacity. You could save them maybe at a 50% opacity or a 60% opacity, just to have some wiggle room if you want to tweak some of the styles to be more adjustable to other photos and to other batches of photos. Because again, as always, we need to try the styles to be as versatile as possible. So this is something that you can consider. So we are almost done for today. Just a couple last things I wanted to mention is one is good news for PC users. And the thing is that now from Capture One 23, Capture One supports the use of multiple GPU cores in your PC, so that's good. And it's also good news for Sony shooters because the performance in Sony files has improved considerably. The other last thing to mention is another workflow improvement. Let's go back to the interface now. If you remember, when we were culling before, we applied different color tags to the hero shots that were from the couple and the hero shots that were individuals. So let's go back to these 3 shots. Let's say that, okay, those are great in color, but I wanted to test also how they look like in black and white and maybe propose to the client, to the couple. So we can just right click and say clone variant and then try to apply some black and white adjustments. The thing is that it might be useful to have these black and white settings or any other kind of variant settings in a separate album. So it used to be the case that the variants were always going together into new albums, where now they are not. So for example, let's create a new album. Let's create an album that is called black and white. And let's just move the variants number 2 to this new album, black and white. So now we have our 3 photos here. We can select them all and we can apply a black and white conversion or a black and white style or any kind of thing that we need to do. So this would be a way, and a smart way to keep separate the color and the black and white edits and any other kind of variants that we not necessarily want to keep together with variant number 1. So if we want to try different adjustments, different kind of features in Capture One, it's always nice to keep them separate, nice and tidy. So now that we're approaching the end of this presentation, I simply wanted to remind you that there is a 30 days free trial that you can use if you want to give a try to the new features. It doesn't matter if you use a trial in the past, the trial counter is reset with every new upgrade. So you are very welcome to go to your profile at capture1.com, just like there where you can see in the arrow, and you can get your 30 days free trial. If you try it and you like it and you decide you want it for yourself, don't forget to go back to your preferred reseller partner in order to get it. And remember, there is a bundle offer where you can get a 40% off Capture One Pro 23 if you buy it together with a new camera, lens, or other eligible accessories. And the guys here would be very happy to let you know what this offer can be extended to. So that is pretty much it from me today. Thank you all for watching this presentation. I hope you liked it. I hope it was clear for you to understand the new features of Capture One 23. And we hope to see you soon again in other live presentations, sessions, or videos. Thank you very much. Enjoy the new features and see you soon. Bye.